Now, the Prime Minister promised to freeze the tax on draft beer if he was re-elected. Here he was during the campaign.
Good for beer drinkers, good for pubs and clubs, good for cost of living pressures.
And he'll make good on that. The government's going to freeze the indexation of the excise for 2 years, starting on Friday, which is the 1st of August. And I think any reduction in sin taxes is a good thing. I think they're finger-wagging Puritan nonsense. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. It's only on draft beer, so tap beer in the pub, which is good. I like going to the pub, but there's no change for beer in bottle shops. And there's no change for the tax on spirits, which is about 40% more than beer. So it's all good and well, Jamie, to sell this as, because in the good old days, you had the headline, beer, cigs up, and everyone got outraged about the taxes going up on the beer and the cigarettes. And along comes Albo as sort of, Temu Bob Hawke and says, we're going to make the beer cheaper. Well, only if you go to the pub. And if you happen to prefer Bundy Rum or something, you go and buy a bottle of that. About 60% of the cost of that is tax. So no, we'll do something. He's doing nothing.
It's being described as a win, and I don't know how on earth this could possibly be a win. When you look at the price of a schooner going up by 6.2% in the past 12 months, what we really should have been doing is freezing the fees on it at the moment, not the small increase. Actually make a difference to the cost of living and reduce the tax that's currently on it. We were just talking about gin. It's for a bottle of $60 whiskey or gin, $38 of that is tax, which is just outrageous. So wouldn't you just cut that temporarily so that for a cost of living crisis, we can reduce that instead of just freezing something when you go into the pub, which I think is good for hospitality, but still they might not pass that on to the consumer.
The thing as well is, if the cost of your schooner, Holly, is already, nudging 12, depending on what sort of beer you drink, but if it's nudging $12, $14
well, in the
maybe.
paper was saying $15 to $20.
Yeah, there's some
Who is paying $20 for a beer?
Well, if you're getting the real super duper,
you can tell I'm not a beer drinker, but
But if your schooner's already, let's say $12 to $15, which is pretty standard in a lot of pubs now. The government's not saying the price is going to go down.
No.
They're simply saying that over the next 2 years, it's not going to go up on account of us.
Of the excise.
So that doesn't encourage you to actually go back to the pub. Like, if you already think $12 is a bit over the odds for a schooner,
it's not going to be cheaper at all. It's freezing of the excise. It's just not going up. That's all they're doing. They're not taking anything away from it. And the volume of tax on alcohol nowadays is insane. And, I think it's one of the reasons we see kids drinking less or they're preloading at home, which is not good, because they honestly cannot afford to go to a club or a pub and really buy a drink anymore. And I think there's some pretty dangerous impacts and flow-ons because, as we've seen, drugs have got cheaper and cheaper, alcohol's got more expensive, and we've got a bigger problem now with kids experimenting there. So it is actually not necessarily good for the country in the long run having these sorts of sin taxes. And that's exactly what they are. I think publicans are already doing it tough, whether it's employment of staff, additional red tape. This is just making it so much harder for them to make any money because 50% or so of the cost of the beer they sell you is going straight to the federal government. It's disgraceful.
Yeah, if they wanted to really throw them a bone, they'd reduce the tax. They wouldn't we've been putting it up every 6 months forever, but 2 years off, it'll be all good.
But the thing that I find offensive is the way the Prime Minister's selling it. This is a cost of living measure. If he was serious about the cost of living, he'd be looking at the price of bread or milk or eggs or something that people use all the time.
Chardonnay.
We don't know. We don't want to know about your dinner time.
We know what Holly loves.
Yeah, but the fact is the cost of living is going up really seriously. He's happy for rents to keep going up, house prices to keep going up, power prices to keep going up. You'll still be crippled by the cost of living. This will do nothing.
Well, your beer might go up because the power prices have gone up to just pour the beer. So,
yeah. But to turn around and say because draft beer is going to be frozen at this level, that's a cost of living measure. measure, that's insulting us. That's treating voters like half-wits.
Well,
It's all beer and circuses.
It's ignoring the fact, though, Evelyn, that alcohol has become a necessity under this government because you need something to get you through the week.
I'm surprised he hasn't cut more tax because in Albo's mind he's thinking, now, if I can combat their disapproval of me by getting them drunk so they forget about it. I mean, he could have really capitalised on this. Free alcohol for everyone so I forget how terrible the Labor government is. But look, any tax cut is a good tax cut. But if you actually look at the percentage that we are taxed on beer, if you're outraged by that, then you should be outraged by our income tax because it's probably nearly on par.
It's a good point. As I said before, though, I just feel sorry for the poor old distilleries. I mean, it's a booming industry in this country, but if you go into any bottle shop anywhere, it's cheaper to buy imported spirits than it is to buy locally made spirits because, of course, anything made in Australia costs more to produce. And then you add the tax on top, which, as I said, is about 40% more than the tax on beer. And it's just ridiculous. Can we give people who are trying to make a go of things in this country a fair go, please?